Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right.
The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
My name is S.M. Gibson. You are listening to Anti-Media Radio. It is February the 28th, 2017, and it is Trump-a-mania on Capitol Hill tonight. Currently, as I'm speaking, the President-in-Chief in our post-satire era is now talking to a joint session of Congress. So far up to this point, he's pretty much said a little bit more eloquently than usual because you can tell someone else wrote it out for him, but he's saying pretty much everything that he always says. There's a lot of rumors going around about what he was supposed to say. Some of it was drastically different than some of his rhetoric. But so far, I think it's been pretty much on par. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to get into a lot of other stories too, because I'm sure if you want to hear about Donald Trump, you can get your fix of that on any corporate crap news channel. I want to go ahead and bring on right now, sitting directly next to me, the editor-in-chief himself from theantimedia.org, Mr. Nick Burnaby.
Hey, what's up, everybody? SM, thanks for having me on. How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I can't complain. I was pretty excited about watching the theater that we were getting to witness, but for the most part, you know, it wasn't too theatrical. Some of it was all right. There was some pointing and booing, but for the most part, it was pretty tame.
It's like as if the campaign never ended. Basically,
no,
like
yeah,
campaign speech.
That's all he knows how to do, though. I think that's all. You know, I tell people that I still to this day, I think Trump was a brilliant politician, and the day he won, everything he knew how to do went out the window. Like, I think another great politician, and somebody I can't stand either, but is Bill Clinton. Wonderful politician, terrible person and whatever, but he could at least put on that face while he was still president. And I don't think Trump has mastered that yet. And I don't even know if he has the ability to do that. We'll see in time. I mean, he's a month in. He may transition. Who knows? But at least right now, you have people standing up to a lot of this stuff. And that's what we need in this country for a long time, is for the public to stand up to the politicians in this country. They certainly didn't do it under Obama.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a chance under Trump to show some like legitimate opposition for once. It's been 8 years since anybody's tried to stand up to the executive branch. I mean, what better time, you know?
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. And the only thing that I say is that the opposition needs to get a clue and not just protest the fact that Kellyanne Conway was sitting on a couch or Donald Trump likes ketchup on a steak. You know, they need to actually go after real issues. I haven't seen that yet, so.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing, is that the opposition needs to be more principled. You know what I mean? Because right now it's like they're mad because one of his aides was sitting on her knees. Like, dude, like, come on. There's some major issues going on. Let's not obscure the real problem here by talking about petty nonsense. And one point of contention that you're not really seeing from like Democrats in Congress or any left-wing pundits on in the mainstream media and stuff is the opposition to Trump's stuff that he's doing on foreign policy, man. And like, you want to know what we're covering a lot of on the anti-media that no one really wants to talk about is the foreign policy stuff under Trump. And it's not unique under Trump. It's the same thing as that was going on pretty much under Obama. But with Obama, they didn't talk about it. And again, now with Trump, they're not talking about it. They're talking about Kellyanne Conway sitting on her damn knees on a couch. They're not talking about the fact that, we're heading towards another big, stupid war that could cost who knows how many lives and who knows how much money. And that's the big issue here that we should be talking about with Trump. At least that's one of the biggest issues with Trump. But that's one that's not being discussed enough.
It's certainly not. And one thing that I found really surprising, or should I say unsurprisingly, it was expected and very predictable, but you saw the Democrats, no matter what Trump said, no matter what Trump did, they didn't clap, they didn't stand up. And then as soon as he mentions getting involved in the Middle East, they stand up and applaud that. That's what they cheer. So that's one thing I think anyone that pays attention knows is Republicans and Democrats are united on one front, and that is war, and that is expansion of U.S. interest through bloodshed. I want to go ahead and bring on our regular co-host, all the way from Birmingham, Alabama, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, what is up?
Man, first off, I think we need to be very clear here so we don't get the fake news moniker on the show. Do we have any footage of Donald Trump eating ketchup on a steak? Because that, out of the most horrible things you can say about the man, that's got to be the worst.
I know, dude. You know what? Like, I thought it was bad that he was increasing the budget $54 billion for the military and ripping immigrants out of their homes and stuff like that. I thought that was bad, but when I heard about the ketchup on the steak thing, that was the final straw.
That's I think we need to just go ahead and dedicate the rest of the show to that. Nick, what do you prefer on your steak?
Well, I'm a vegan, dude. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, it really depends. There's so many different kinds of steak. Around here, they do a lot of what's called carne asada, which is this real thinly sliced stuff. So you kind of just put guacamole and salsa on it.
Oh, my God. We're really having this conversation, aren't we? This is great. I love this. I'd hijack the show.
I'm going to go ahead and re-hijack the show. And I want to bring up a story we have right now under the Their News section. It's right now on the front page of the antimedia.org. It is the second highest voted story right now in the Their News section. And just a reminder, if there's any stories that you see as you're scrolling through your social media feed, or you just see in general and you want other people to see that, please, by all means, stop over at the Anti-Media. Go to the My News section. It's on the far right column. We have just a little submit article thing. Just throw the link in there, hit the arrow next to it, and there it is. It's going to be on the front page of the antimedia.org. But anyway, so back to the story I was talking about. Both Rand and Ron Paul today have come out pretty strongly against aggression in the Middle East. More importantly, what Ron was talking about, it is right now China is building a military base 1 mile away from a United States military base in Africa, in Djibouti. And
what gives them the right to build a base in Africa? That's not. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Sorry.
There's a lot of implications there that's not very good, and you hear, okay, well, they're in Africa, Djibouti. You know, it's a fun word to say, and I'll agree with that. It's a very fun word to say, but the reason that that's being done is it's because, 12 miles, Nick, I believe they were saying?
They said like 1 mile. It's like real close, dude.
So basically, they're really close to Yemen, if that tells you anything you need to know. And it's about transporting oil, of course, because...
Oh, you mean from Yemen? Yeah, no, it's like, it's just across a very narrow body of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're real close to Yemen.
Yeah, so basically that's what these military bases are about. Now, they're going to be 1 mile apart from each other, the U.S. base and the Chinese base. And I think that's what we're going to see if and when we see a World War III, is we're going to see it kick off really in the Middle East. And it may or may not stay contained there. I don't know, but...
Yeah, I kind of feel like we're already at World War. If you look, did you see
We're definitely at a world Cold War.
Did you ever see the count of countries that were either directly involved or backing the Western operations in Syria? Did you ever see that? It was like 70 countries or so. There was about 70 different countries involved in what's going on in Syria right now. And of course the U.S. and Australia and all of our allies, the U.K. and that. And then you had Russia and China on the other side of the thing. But like 70 countries involved.
It's a lot, and I know that Turkey has been ramping up their involvement extremely. They've come across the border to attack Syria. We've also seen in the past couple of days, for those of you who don't know, Israel and Gaza have started, I don't even want to use the word skirmish, but they're launching bombs back and forth at each other again. It just seems like the whole area it's like it was in 2003 almost. I mean, we're just still in pure chaos here. And nothing's getting solved. We just got done with 8 years of a Nobel Peace Prize winner that, nothing was solved under him. And what's so weird is I know people that were more or less fans of Obama. I wouldn't say they're his biggest fan, but they're like, well, how was he like Bush? How was he like Bush? And it's, he dropped 26,000 bombs last year alone. So we're looking at something that's way bigger than Donald Trump, and that's something that Americans need to remember. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about people all around the world. This is about a continued policy of nation building, spreading an empire, if you want to use those words. I mean, you can use a lot of words, but at the end of the day, there's people dying. And to a point, and it's so bad that we're having a national discussion right now, and Europe has been dealing with it way, way more than the United States, about refugees. And people never question why we have refugees. They just think, well, there's refugees. They never go that extra step to go, they're fleeing our bombs. They're fleeing an environment that was created by U.S. foreign policy. When you look at Iraq, was Saddam Hussein a good person? Of course not. No one in their right mind would defend that lunatic. They wouldn't. But at the same time, when he was gone, it created an atmosphere of pure chaos. And it doesn't help that the United States has declared war on people like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and we find out that the United States has actually been funding Al-Qaeda and ISIS for quite a long time. I think it is to continue the chaos. I think it is to really help overthrow people in the region. And for people that just think, oh, wow, I just said that the United States is funding Al-Qaeda, right now on the front page of the AIMTimeMedia.org, again, under the Their News section, it's the middle column, we have a story up about Tulsi Gabbard, who is a United States Congresswoman from Hawaii. She is also, very important to note, she is a military veteran. And she has been on a campaign for quite some time, and her question is, and I quote, why is the U.S. supporting Al-Qaeda? She went over to Syria. She met with people. She talked to people. She tried to figure it out for herself what's going on, and she said there are no moderate rebels. Moderate rebels do not exist. These are the terrorists that all the people that George Bush told you to be scared of, you're either with the terrorists or you're with us. Well, guess what? They're the terrorists. This is the world we're living in. It's truly 1984. And the more chaos that there is in the region, the more reason there is for us to be there. And it's a continuous cycle. It's a business. It's a business of blood. It's a business of resources. It's sad, and it's terribly sad, but the most frustrating part, for me personally, is that most Americans refuse to accept something that is actually very black and white. This is something that is very provable, and because of their allegiances to, their politicians and their party and their team, they're not going to stand up and applaud because it's the other side. That's the sad thing. That's the sad reality we're living in. Shannon, me and you talk about this a lot. And what do you see coming of this? Do you see people waking up now that Trump's in office, or do you think we're just going to see 4 years of, I can't believe Kellyanne Conway put her feet on the couch, as opposed?
Well, the rhetoric that I've seen, since the fallout of the election, has been more of, well, this is what we got. You didn't vote for the right person, or I did vote for the right person. Everybody just needs to just let him do what he's going to do and completely get out of his way.
You probably vote for the right person because there wasn't a right person that had a legitimate shot of winning.
Ding! You are absolutely 100% correct. So I mean, people went into this thing with blinders on anyways. I don't expect that the blinders are going to fall, particularly when, as Nick just stated a moment ago, that we are definitely in the Bush's fifth term. We're still seeing the same exact military campaign. Well, actually, it's now been ramped up to a complete zenith in that region. I mean, the story you just said a moment ago, China is building a base a mile away from the United States near Yemen. I mean, that's some scary stuff right there.
I haven't so far seen Trump go out of his way to overextend, but what it appears to me, and tell me if either one of y'all disagree with this, that we're just on this gradual incline, and Trump's not doing anything to get us off of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, quite the opposite. I think he's doing what he can to at least put his name on the warfare that's going over there, particularly if it's done in such a fashion that the American public is somehow, some way going to swallow it and go along with it, like they have for the past 8 years, for instance, or 12 years, 16 years. I can't even keep count anymore. God, it's been forever.
And the problem you see too is, and look, to Trump's credit, with his rhetoric and his rhetoric alone, he says stuff like, we're not going to police these countries anymore. We've wasted $6 trillion in these wars. He mentioned that tonight. that, we could have rebuilt this country twice doing that. And that's all fair to say. And I agree with what he's saying. And then he turns around and he's going to pledge $54 billion more towards the military. Look, we're broke. We're broke. And the words are nice to say that we shouldn't have done this and all that, but you can't say that and turn around and feed the beast even more, which is what's happening in reality.
Yep. And so I don't see the end in sight, at least for the foreseeable future. And I really feel like any candidate that we put in, let's say, Trump finally shows everybody his true colors and even his own party decides to cast him out, which there's quite a few in his party that still do. Your old Rubio and Cruz holdouts, and some folks with the last name Bush.
And Marco Rubio was giving him a stare when they cut to him tonight.
Yes, he was.
Not a fan.
Little Marco.
Yeah,
so I really don't see and I don't see public perception really swaying what happens over in the Middle East, because public perception has been completely silent. The anti-war left, of course, during the Obama administration, was stock still silent. And it's funny, you can still find a few of them online that are still in chat rooms that talk about what a great, fine, upstanding gentleman that Obama was, and he had respect for all of these people, and he didn't have all this disrespect for the Muslims like Trump does. And then I also have to kind of point out the fact that he's killed more Muslims than any other president that I can think of. Can you?
Maybe Cheney, and I intentionally say the word Cheney. But other than that, I can't think of
I think total body count, I think old Barry's got him beat, man.
But
I don't know, we'll have to go back and look at the stats on that.
Yeah, we'd have to look that one up. But definitely it's he's high up on the list of presidents that have killed Muslims. And of course, he's a Muslim. Well, he's killing a lot of them, so you might want to look.
Yeah, I mean, for a Muslim president, he really sold out his own religion. Then I guess, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The narrative has been spun so many different ways, and again, it's just a lot of party talking points, and that's all I hear, and that's all I see. I don't see anybody actually trying to reach out for legitimate change or trying to. There's, of course, people in the, socially conscious communities, and there's a few people that have wandered in and looked around and said, oh, to hell with this. This is all strange and unfamiliar. I need to go back to somebody telling me what I need to do, how I need to think, all of these regulations to keep me safe and keep me in control. And,
people are terrified, I think, to get away from regulations.
It's ridiculous.
It is. And when we're talking about all this and talking about what it entails, Trump pledging $54 billion extra dollars. We have right now on the front page, again under their news, a story right under the Tulsi Gabbard story. Broke and busted, the U.S. is about to hit $20 trillion in debt. And what it does is it actually takes you to a link of usdebtclock.org. I highly recommend everybody check out usdebtclock.org. Right now, officially, $19.98 trillion in debt. And it's going up like a second counter. Our debt is in the United States. These numbers are constantly ever changing. And you see it in real time and see how broke we are. As a country, we don't have any business at all, period, anymore, policing the world. Look, we never should have done it to begin with, but we don't have a time machine. Steve Urkel's not going to show up and take us back to where we can fix all this. All we can do is deal with what's in front of us. And we have to focus on the important things. We have to get out of the Middle East, period. The end. There's no argument to that. It's not our business. And the same people that will tell you, yes, that it is our business, those are the exact same people that will scream and yell at you when you say that the United States has become an empire. No, we're not. We're not an empire. but we need to go over here and do this. We need to go over here and do that. Again, people have constructed their own realities.
How do they count this number up?
I don't have a clue. This is way over my head.
It's just if you go look at the U.S. debt clock .org.
Are you first just now saying that?
I've seen it before, but it's mind blowing to see how quickly this number goes up and how much money it is they're just jacking from our paychecks to spend on who knows what. I mean, you can't even drive down the street without busting your rim on a pothole around here. Like, what are they spending this money on? It's not on us.
No.
I mean, it blows my mind. I mean, we're coming up on like tax day, right? And these assholes are going to go out there and march against Donald Trump because they want to see his tax returns. How about marching against these damn taxes, dude? Like, what are we spending our money on? They want to cut from like social programs. They want to cut shit from protecting the fucking environment. Fine, but wouldn't it be a lot easier to cut money from the nation building that we got going on and like 800 different military bases in 100 different countries right now around the world? I mean, we're building China is now building military bases on top of ours over in Africa. I mean, we've got dude, it's just people need to be reminded we have military bases in over 100 countries in the world. Over 100 countries in the world. I bet nobody listening to this show could even name 100 countries off the top of their head.
I can't.
I know I can't do it, and I'm like a geography buff.
I'm the same way.
I love geography, but I don't think I can name 100 countries.
I
could probably name like 40, 50 of them, but how the hell do we have bases in 100 different countries? It's unbelievable.
And so we have 100 bases all around the world. We have stuff falling apart here. First off, let's just talk about the economy of itself. If you brought all those troops that we have scattered around the world, if we brought them home, what would that do to the economy here? You have all these extra people. You have all these people. Like, it helps everything. And, of course, there's not people being killed by U.S. bombs, and I know people hate to hear that, but that is a sad reality that we have to look in the mirror. And
I wonder how many troops do we have total overseas?
That is a good question.
Any estimate on that?
I'm gonna find out.
Well, I say overseas. How many troops do we have in those 100 countries in those bases that we just talked about? And on the battlefield in Afghanistan and guarding the poppy fields. And
it's a good question.
I
know that most of these, we have 800 bases. Most of them don't have guys in them. So,
from 1950 to 2000, the United States has had over 118. So that's a 50-year span. 118 million, almost 119 million active duty personnel served for at least 1 year in the military. There were over 1 million troops in just 1968 deployed in Vietnam.
I don't. Right now, I think there's several 100,000 active duty. Most of these bases, they're pretty small. They're probably maybe a couple hundred people stationed at a base or whatever in these little countries. And we have big presence in South Korea, big presence in Japan. We got a big presence over in Germany and stuff. So it all depends. But yeah, I think in most of the bases, there's so many of them. They're little ones too that only have several dozen people, several hundred people. And then there's a few places where we got a good number of people.
According to Cato.org, the United States has over 200,000 troops stationed in 144 countries and territories at any given time, and also has another 20,000 sailors and Marines deployed afloat on naval ships. So we're looking at roughly 220,000 troops estimate wise.
About a quarter of a million. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
roughly under.
isn't our new president supposed to be creating a whole bunch of new jobs?
Supposedly, but he also has freezing the
government
outside of the military. But he is definitely.
He's going to be jobbing it up. So we have all of these immigrants that we're going to be shipping out en masse pretty soon. We go ahead and bring the troops back home. There's 200,000, almost a quarter million qualified skilled labor for various different fields, whether it be medical, whether it be, all of the various different things that the military teaches you when you get there. Service personnel, people that work in skilled trades like carpentry and electrical work. You got a lot of, pilots. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home and make this economy great again, right?
I mean, seriously. I don't understand, like, that should be a no-brainer, but people are so entrenched in fear. They have bought into the fear so much that they're willing to overlook whatever values they supposedly have, whatever morals they supposedly have, whatever it is they supposedly believe in. I promise you, to any American out there that thinks this is not an empire, this isn't that, this isn't this. If you lived in any other country in the world, whether it be Mexico, Canada, China, the UK, whatever, and there was another country, for instance, China. Let's say China had military bases in the United States, and they had military bases in over 100 countries around the world. Would you think China had an empire around the world? You probably would.
I would think.
Well, I mean, let's not stop. Let's stop right there with the fact that China will have a military base in the United States. What kind of uproar would that cause?
That wouldn't go over very well.
At all.
Fair enough. It shouldn't go over well. But when it's us doing it, we don't care. But
freedom, America.
That you've got to remember, Americans believe, and of course it's not all Americans, but the narrative is that Americans are victims. And the reason that they're victims is because they have freedom. And they're jealous of your freedom. They're jealous of the things you have. You're a victim here. Look, you're just living life. You've got it all. And these people hate it. And they want to take it away from you. So they're going to do all these horrible things. Unfortunately, that's not reality. That's not reality in any way, shape, or form. A lot of these people are really mad and angry because we've been bombing their countries. We have troops stationed in their countries. And Americans would be just as mad.
Better yet, these people are mad because it's not the fact that we're bombing their countries. Some of these people are pissed off because we're bombing their neighborhoods. We're killing their neighbors. We're killing family members. And we're also talking about the people that I just listed are people that have nothing to do with these military skirmishes. They don't have a gun in their hand. They're just walking to the store with their groceries, headed to the house, and suddenly they get blown to bits by a bomb with an American flag on it, I might add.
Well, usually most of the bombs dropped do have an American flag or a UK flag on them, whether it's Saudi Arabia dropping them or the United States dropping them or whoever's dropping them. Those bombs originate from the United States, sadly.
Excuse me, let me use the official press narrative, Saudi-led coalition.
There it is.
There we go.
Today, I believe it was the Foreign Relations Committee, but Rand Paul was talking about it, and what was his name? Michael Knight, I believe he was questioning. And he straight up said, look, it's not our responsibility to rebuild everybody's country anymore. We have our own country to take care of. And in fairness, look, Trump is saying that in rhetoric. He's saying those words. But I haven't seen any action from Trump so far that would insinuate that's what he's actually going to do. None. And there is a lot of stuff Trump said he was going to do that he did take action on, as far as the travel ban and various other things. But I haven't seen him take any steps towards de-escalating what our military is doing at all. If anything, I've seen him escalating it. I wish that's something he would follow through with, because he is saying it, but I don't see any resolve personally at all with that. But again, George W. Bush, when he was running in 99, 2000, said pretty much the same stuff. We know how that worked out. And Barack Obama said so much great stuff. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for just words. He didn't do any of it.
No, he did quite the opposite.
Oh man, that Peace Prize! I thought they were going to give one to Trump just for the
they should,
just for the encouragement,
They should. Why not? I don't understand why they don't give him one. And anybody that's more interested in looking into this, please, we have a story right now on the front page of the antimedia.org. 5 signs we are headed toward a major war. The mainstream media is not covering any of this stuff. A lot of it centers around what's going on with Iran right now, which is very, very, very important. Of course, the travel ban as well. The situation in Syria. But, only time's going to tell with this kind of stuff. And I hope it's not too late when we get to that point. I wish people would stand up today and do something about it. I don't see that's going to happen. Maybe there's a direct fear of us going into war, like there was similar in 2013 with Syria, that people stand up and speak up to, their elected representatives. They are right now. People are staying up to their elected officials right now. But over what? It's a myriad of reasons. And when you have a million different reasons for we're coming at you for this, we're coming at you for that, I don't see a lot getting changed because it's too scattered. People have to unite and say these are the basic things that need to change in this country. There's so much propaganda, there's so much fear, there's so many different beliefs, and of course you've got the whole Democrat-Republican garbage that they're both in their own worlds as far as what should happen, and they're both of them are arguing over mostly nonsense. And you're going to always kind of end up back at the same spot you started at when you look to the direction of the political parties. That's just, that's history. That's what we've seen in this country over and over and over. And I think a major, major issue that would change so many things. Look, our country's broke. We shouldn't be killing people. We shouldn't be policing the world. We shouldn't be doing all these things. If we just united on the foreign policy alone, that's it. That's the only thing we got behind. We could make a huge difference and change the world. And then we can
save a ton of money in the process.
And save a ton of money in the process.
You can save 15% or more on your whatever it is you want to talk about by cutting out the damn empire, dude. $600 billion, and Trump's adding another $54 billion onto it. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Like, what are we paying for? All we're getting is more terrorists. The Islamic State is an outgrowth of, after we'd been at the war on terror for, when did the Islamic State emerge? In the 2013, 2014?
It was a little bit before. It was a little bit before that. But
this is like 13 years after the war on terror, and the Islamic State emerges out stronger than Al-Qaeda has ever been. I mean, these guys are like taking over countries and shit. Like, these policies are failed, dude. Like, the more we send troops and bombs and whatever it is we're going to be sending over there under Trump, all it does is add fuel to the fire, dude. That's all it does, man. And unfortunately, at this point, these guys have known this for so long. I mean, I don't know how many times we got to hear Ron Paul talk about blowback for it to settle in. All the people at the CIA, several of the people from the CIA that have come forward and talked about it, they're like, we know that this blowback is happening. Like, we know how to stop this stuff. But why it continues, like, I don't know. Like, at this point, we have to start thinking that these guys are purposely, like, they want to be creating terrorists. They're not over there, like, even pretending to be fighting terrorists. They're trying to create them right now.
They have created them by directly funding and supplying them and training them and everything else. But it goes back to what...
You mean like since the 50s and 60s? Yeah. Yeah, this has been going on a long time. We need to stop acting like this is a new thing, first off. And second off, the United States, you said, adding fuel to the fire. The United States was the one that started the fire. They provided the flint, the gasoline, the wood, everything to get it going.
There are bad countries in the world. There are terrible countries in the world. And they've used, really this all hinges on World War II and what Hitler did. And it's all supposedly to prevent another Hitler. That's why they were able to stop, or should I say stop, but able to get the U.S. involved in the first Iraq war in the early 90s, is because look at what Saddam Hussein's doing here. We don't want another Hitler, do we? And there's that fear that whatever ideology it is, it's going to spread so far and they're going to conquer the world, that we've got to stop it before it starts. And based on that, they've gone around the world doing pretty much the exact same thing in a little bit different capacity, but the strategies are very similar. One thing Rand Paul mentioned today in his committee meeting was that why does the U.S. supposedly these are numbers that he used, that there are 8,000 members of ISIS now, roughly now. The Iraqi army has 500,000 people in it. What do they need the United States for? What are we doing? Why do we need to be there? If 500,000 people can't take out 8,000 guys, then there's a problem. This is way bigger than just the American people have been lied to for a long time, and the American military is not needed in the Middle East. They can sort out their own problems.
We actually, for the most part, create more problem than we make solutions, And, Justin, we had Justin on my radio show. I have a radio show here on theantimedia.org/radio and ucy.tv Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. A couple of weeks ago, we had Justin King on, and he was talking about, some of the reasons why the war on terror is failing. And part of it has to do with us not using indigenous forces correctly, which basically what he means is instead of going in there and sending troops either on or like near the front lines and have them in there fighting, is what the role of the U.S. should be more effectively just arming organic elements of fighters over there that are already fighting and winning. And it's kind of like what we should be doing with the Kurds and their fight against ISIS, but we don't do it nearly enough because the Turks don't want the Kurds getting too strong. Nobody wants the Kurds to get strong, basically. All of the people in the region do not want the Kurds to get strong. And so if we really wanted to defeat ISIS, we would be handing the northern half of Iraq over to the Kurds, let them take over, and they would beat the shit out of ISIS. They would end it.
They would.
But they're not going to let that happen because, first of all, the Iraqi government doesn't want that to happen. The Turkish government doesn't want that to happen. The Iranians don't want that to happen. The Syrian, nobody wants it to happen over there, except for the Kurds. And those people deserve a homeland. I mean, they've been at the short end of the stick for a long time, dude. Like, they've been getting screwed by Saddam Hussein and everybody, dude, in the region forever. Look at what's goes on in Turkey with the Kurds that live up there. And that's their home. Those mountainous regions up there in southern Turkey, that's their homeland, dude. Like, that's where they're from, and they get blown up and killed in their own homelands. It's really sad. And the Turkish government is doing really bad. Like, the way they've cracked down, especially after that coup attempt in Turkey, they've cracked down on the Kurds up there so bad. It's really a crime against humanity going on there. Nobody's talking about it. Everybody's looking the other way, and nobody wants to call out Erdogan.
I want to say this real quick. Speaking of Hitler, Erdogan was employing Hitler tactics, not, Donald Trump's Hitler, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he was just locking up professors. He was locking up scholars. He was locking up journalists.
If you want to talk about anyone that's actually Nazi-like right now, that would be Erdogan.
Yeah.
Turkey. He really is. And he's, you know what? We're turning the other way and letting him do his thing. And many people, many analysts thought that coup attempt over there in Turkey may have been, he maybe staged it so he can crack down on people, and so that's been suggested plenty of times.
And then coincidentally, and this could be pure coincidence, I'm not connecting any dots that aren't there, but it was ironic that right when the 28 pages finally were released, as redacted as they were, we saw that coup. And for those that don't know what the 28 pages are, that's regarding 9/11 and the fact that you can't show me a plane inside of the Pentagon. But it also, more importantly, goes back to connections with Saudi Arabia, who even President Trump at one point mentioned, and he is
before he was
swiftly,
president.
yes,
before he was president,
swiftly never mentioned.
He
it
also
again.
said he was against the drug war before he was president, a couple years ago. But things change once you get a taste of that, whatever it is that you get a taste of up there in Washington D.C.
I hate
Nick, you actually bring up a really good point, because there is a story up on Anti-Media right now, and I can't remember if it's on the Your News or the My News section, but there is a quick blurb on there about Jeff Sessions and some of his recent statements concerning the legalization or decriminalization on a federal level, at least.
Good, great.
Double down, man. He really is after the devil's lettuce. It causes violence. It's there's just all this chaos that's around us, and we need to get a handle on this thing right now. The federal government needs to come and take charge. Trump prides himself on being a great businessman. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist and a bunch of stoned teenagers have figured out that, hey, the government can make money off this stuff. Everybody seems to chill out when they're smoking. Maybe this legalization of marijuana is not such a bad idea. And public opinion has swayed greatly on that. And Jeff Sessions is, he's going to Roy Moore it up, I guess, and try to do what states have, the states that have declared themselves sovereign, such as California, for instance, the state that y'all are in right now. He's trying to deny the states those rights. Ultimately, I'm taking the whole marijuana issue off the table just for a second. Basically, he's saying that the states have decided that something's okay in their state. The voters in their state have spoken. True democracy has taken place. And now the federal government wants to come in and break that down. That's huge, man.
Yeah, dude, it is. And, me and SM Gibson were talking about this earlier today, and we were I really don't, I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind this renewed crackdown. Because, like I was telling you, dude, earlier today, how has we didn't hurt anybody? Like, it's hard to hunt down any cases where you can say, yeah, weed killed that guy. It's really hard to hunt that down. Everyone knows Joe Rogan's joke about it, how the only guy who has died from weed was from when a CIA plane dropped a huge bale of weed on a guy and it killed him. But, I don't know of any clear-cut cases where you can say, yeah, weed killed somebody. So I'm trying to figure out what in the hell it is that makes Jeff Sessions hate marijuana so much, dude. I really don't.
Alabama.
That's it. And I tell you, and to play devil's advocate for Trump for a second here, I don't see this renewed crackdown on marijuana so much coming from Trump as I do definitely 1,000% coming from Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, it's coming from Sessions, man. But let's face it, there's always been kind of a federal opposition to marijuana. Under Obama, I mean, there was actually, as far as I know, there was actually more pot busts, quote unquote pot busts under Obama than there were under Bush, and so Obama has this reputation of being soft on marijuana and stuff. I can tell you, being here in California, dude, the feds occasionally would come down here and break down the dispensary doors, and they would shut down marijuana dispensaries and take everybody's shit, not give it back. And we're talking
after they've been collecting taxes on it, I might add.
Yeah, and we're also talking. Well, they don't do that. They don't really collect many taxes here in California on the medical stuff. But they're going to be taxing the recreational stuff. But
they do on a federal level, though. I'm sure.
I mean,
the IRS is taxing their businesses, correct?
It is, but it's like pretty small. It's a small amount.
In fact, when has the IRS ever taxed anybody small?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. If a pot dispensary is doing good, if money's flowing through there, the IRS is definitely going to come get their cut.
Yeah, dude. But, here's the thing. The feds have been coming down here into California and knocking down people's businesses just because they were selling a plant that the federal government has deemed illegal. There's something bigger, I think, that has to do with keeping marijuana illegal. It's not just because the pharmaceutical companies don't want it. It's not just the alcohol companies.
I think a lot of it has to do with
prison companies.
I disagree.
It's not. I'm saying not just, right. It's not just the police unions, which are big on it too. But I think there's even something bigger that comes from the government side of things, where they don't want people thinking, and they don't want people smoking weed and then thinking a little differently, I think, is the big thing. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, man. Like, do you know many stoners that are like asshole, violent people that want the U.S. government going around killing people around the world? Like, not really, dude. Like, from what I know.
And Nick, you just accidentally said a very powerful thing there. Because when you just stated that, what you're also saying is that the thing that they do legalize and that they push down our throats every single time you turn on the TV or the radio, and that's alcohol. And what does alcohol do in mass quantity to anybody that drinks it?
It makes you
a little dumber.
Yeah.
It makes you rage out and want to fight. And
some people get real dumb on it.
I know that everybody gets really dumb on it. As you can sit smoke all the weed you want to, and you're just going to, get a little silly, go watch some cartoons and eat some Cocoa Puffs.
Now, I know the old stereotype of like how lynch mobs would be. These guys would be getting all drunk and shit, and they'd go around, hunting people down. Is that true? You guys being from Alabama probably know. I don't know much about it. Like,
he would know better than.
So with these lynch mobs,
what do you mean he would know better than I would? What the hell is that?
Macala, that's what it has to do with it.
So they're just get drunk and shit, and then go around and just start. Is that what really used to happen, or no?
Oh, back in the day?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Was alcohol involved in these lynch mobs?
Oh, I don't know. I'm
definitely sure that before or afterwards, I would say that they were definitely taking a few shots before they hopped in a pickup truck with a shotgun to go scare them spooks down the street.
Jeff Sessions going around saying marijuana is violent. Dude.
But I believe, and I was telling you this earlier today, Nick. I do believe there's motives there for whatever reason they have. But I'm telling you, Jeff Sessions believes what he's saying. He does.
Alabama.
That's it.
That's so backwards.
He believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
And today the remarks he was making was kind of just like making anyone that talked about weed sound dumb. He was kind of trying to make it sound like, that's crazy that they think that it could
the disconnect is when you're talking about when you start connecting it to opiates and you connect it to people that are doing heroin and all these overdoses of people.
And the violence that he's talking about is with the illegal drug trade. He's actually making a great case for legalization.
Seriously, right? There was a great article that we did that Kerry wrote for the Anti-Media just a few months ago about how by the DEA's own website, the war on drug has failed. And basically, looking at their site, they have on their front page, you can look at like all the busts they've made recently, and you can see the fact that the number of busts have not gone down. So like basically, they've been waging a war on drugs for 40 years, and it hasn't decrease the amount of drugs at all. So it's like apparently this is just a perpetual war where we're going to be at war on drugs for the rest of the existence of this country, apparently.
Just like the war in the Middle East. Isn't that funny how that worked out?
We're going to win the war. We're just going to keep fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, spending money and putting people in jail and doing all these things. And yeah, you make a great point. Sessions said the illegal drug trade is causing violence and stuff. That's completely correct. legalize drugs.
In fairness to the government, that all these, whether you're talking about the war in the Middle East or you're talking about the drug war, whatever you're talking about, they generate money. The federal government, as we talked about earlier, is $20 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
They need money wherever they can get it.
So here's what blows my mind, right? These guys are $20 trillion and they put us $20 trillion in debt, yet almost every member of Congress is a millionaire. Isn't that a little strange? How does that work?
It's a bit odd.
How do they get $20 trillion in debt with our money, but they become millionaires with their money? How's that work out?
Nick, we have allowed this. And, that's the thing is that everybody says that, well, you need to get out and vote. You need to go out and be active. You need to make sure your voice is heard. Okay, well, if that's what's happened, then this is the sum result of that. So we have let this happen somehow, some kind of way. Is that correct?
Pretty much, dude. I mean, yeah. We've let this stuff happen.
So if we've allowed this to happen, then how do we undo it?
Well, going back to what I think, dude, it's a war of consciousness. I don't believe that we can successfully have a revolution in this country, not even a peaceful one, without regressing in one way or another. I think the war is fought in our brains, dude, in our own minds. People just need to think differently and operate differently and live with a kind of intention, I guess you could say, to not be partaking in the system. So, not only not paying into it, but also trying not to take out of it either. And living independent of that system starts off in the mind, but then you can move all of the things you do in your life into that direction. And building up our own alternative institutions that are based on voluntary living and not the barrel of a government's gun. We could build up, and this is going down kind of in the realm of agorism and stuff, and more like anarchist philosophy and stuff. But by checking out of the system, not supporting it, not benefiting from it, we can start building things that make that existing system irrelevant. Because trying to go up against it head on, it kind of seems like to me a recipe for disaster. We see what happened. We saw what just happened at the Dakota Access Pipeline, dude. They fought hard, they fought honorably, and they did what they could. They stopped it for as long as they could, but it's only a matter of time before they get you. You know what I mean? The strength of the government is strong militarily. They've got all that weaponry and stuff, all that technology. To fight them head on is like asking for a huge problem. To fight them, the mind.
Tell that to Eric Garner's family.
Well,
taxation is indeed theft.
Real quick point to make. We've only got about a minute here. Every citizen, every single one, if you are a U.S. citizen and you are listening to this, you are currently $61,556 in debt right now.
Yeah.
If you
got a kid that was just born right now, he's already $61,000 in debt.
Gender neutral terms, Nick. You said he. Gender neutral.
That kid is already $61,556 in debt. That's pretty sad.
And okay, seriously here. Also, every taxpayer in this country is $166,751 in debt. Every taxpayer, if you're paying income taxes in this country, that's what you are in debt. That's what we're dealing with. Our country is broke. We're about to hit $20 trillion in debt. For Shannon, for Nick, I am SM Gibson, Anti-Radio.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.